It's Monday again. That means it's Setup Monday. Let's take a look at some charts. Got to start off with Ethereum as it finally caught up to Big Brother Bitcoin over the past few days in an insane run. Just look at this volume. You know, if you're ever not sure how crazy a move is, just look at this volume. This is a new multi-month high for volume right off the bat on a Sunday, nonetheless, leading into a Monday US time. A 30% move or more over the past couple days. Now, obviously, that's not sustainable and will not last, and will likely not continue to move, simply because funding, margin trading, amongst other things, eventually is going to start cracking at the seams. People are going to start taking profit. People are going to start getting margin called. There's going to be massive dips on people who are over leveraged and bought the top. They're going to get wiped out, and that's all part of what we're seeing right now. The other thing I'm watching is this pitchfork, which very clearly is showing we are approaching dangerously overbought territory if you treat this as an oscillator. Overbought up here, oversold down here, or invalidated in this case down here. Now, I don't think we're going to see sub $100 Ethereum this year, sub $200 Ethereum this year. What I really want to do, though, for my own trading book is to buy anything near the pivot, the median line, or the 200-day moving average. You can see that since May we haven't touched the 200. Since November we haven't touched the median line, and we'll see where we are when we hit this yearly pivot. But all of this is massive support now. Tons of confluence. Should this crumble or wick or whatever in the next 12 months, right? But this is where support will be. This is where everybody will be looking if things go awry for whatever reason. And as far as the upside is concerned, we tapped the R1 immediately, tapped the R2. I doubt we'll see a tap of the R3 anytime soon. Now, my hope is that we truly wipe out a bunch of longs, go to 530, and then tap the R3 sometime in Q2. I don't think it'll be that crazy, but that's my roadmap in my head at least. But I think in general, the big move for Ethereum is over at the moment. That might change over the course of the next week, depending how this looks. But usually when, everybody gets wiped out on both sides of the book, there really isn't anybody left at that point to keep margin longing. Funding got really high as well. And just in case you're not familiar with the pitchfork, in general, you pick 3 points and then it just projects a rate of change. If it holds, great. If it doesn't, great. But the expectation is that it stays within the confines of that rate of change. And you can think of these as standard deviations or fib extensions, whatever you want to think of it as. This is overbought. This is oversold. This is BTC in 2015, 16, 17, by the way. And you can see how many times it took to actually break towards like a parabolic, insane move. Now, this is a different situation, different year. But that just illustrates, have some patience with this. If you're like, man, I missed this move, look how many times this retraced to the median line after touching the top. How many times it hit the bottom side of this pitchfork before retracing up. All that is possible for Ethereum going forward. In case you're curious how this looks now for Bitcoin, we're actually just tapping that median line again. So we're back within this rate of change expectation. I'm not a pitchfork expert, so you can say, it was invalidated up here, it was invalidated down here twice, whatever. But, it's weird that we're sort of back to where we started as far as that rate of change expectation is concerned. Other things I'm watching for Ethereum. So here's the daily. This is the candlestick I'm referring to, spinning top. Long-legged doji. It typically indicates indecision, potential reversal conditions. Definitely, if I see this, my expectation isn't that we just keep going, right? This says lots of people were margin called here, lots of people were margin called here, and prices just came to an equilibrium, and people are still trying to figure out what's going on here. This isn't a one-sided trade anymore as far as up only in the near term. So it'll probably consolidate. It'll probably flag or something. It's not a continuation candlestick for sure. And here's another illustration of that on the 12-hour. Something else I'm showing here is the daily cloud just completely got blown out. So this will take a lot of time to figure out even where support is going to be. It looks like it's going to be around 800 as far as the daily Kijun is concerned. You can see we've hit the Tenkan over and over and over here for ETH on the daily, currently at like 890, something like that. If we look at the 12-hour, here's that ugly candlestick again, even more of a long-legged doji, a longer-legged doji. And you can see we hit the Kijun several times. That's around 850. So even if we drop to 850, we're still okay on trend. I certainly get more nervous that the trend is over because of all this daylight in between the Kijun and the cloud. You can see here we had relatively close support to the cloud, even tapped the cloud here. So this has better risk reward because there's the stop loss is closer to the open of the trade. You know, if you're opening on the Kijun, your stop loss is into the cloud. That's just how this works. And so here, if your stop loss is at 600 and you're opening at 850, you know, that's in your upside is, I don't know, 1200 something, whatever, it doesn't matter, but your stop loss there is massive. And if we zoom way out on ETH daily, right now as we sit today on the MA multiplier, this is the 1 year MA, this is 5x the 1 year MA, and we get 1600 as a price target. You can see it broke the median line, which is crazy bullish. And as far as the upside, sometimes it taps it exactly, sometimes it exceeds it for several weeks before falling down again. But the expectation is at a minimum, we will tap this if we break the median line. And there's no doubt in my mind that that'll happen. Maybe we tap it, go back to the median line, go back up as we did for BTC several times in 2017. But the expectation is plenty of upside from here. Now, this doesn't exactly fit in with my 530 plan. We don't usually break above and then below the median line and then actually reach the final destination of the other end of the multiplier, but certainly possible. I mean, we did here as well. But the ultimate expectation for this run is 1600 plus, and that'll keep moving up over time. So the slower this goes, the better. And if we look at fibs, we're talking 22 to 27, 2.2 to 2.7 rather. For a top in this cycle based on the 1618 to the measured move of this high to low. So that's not now, but it is a 2x eventually, maybe by the end of year. Again, this is so highly dependent on how this looks over time, over these next few weeks and months. The more pullbacks, the bigger the pullbacks, the better long term, because it's a no-doubter bull trend. You want to see people, you want to see these wicks all the time. You want to see funding get reset, margin get reset, people unsure of what's going on, people shorting the top. You need that to fuel this continued multi-month trend. And then lastly for ETH, this is the hourly, kind of the lowest time frame I'd be watching for. Signals right now on the cloud, supports at 950, clouds at 950, everything's flat. So really, to me, this is just no trade. I would just be waiting for everything to flip bearish, everything to go below the cloud. Just wait for this exact signal in the future. This is exactly what you're looking for. Prices above cloud, cloud's flipping bullish, TK's bullish. That's what you want to see. This is not a long signal. This is not, this is a, or sideways, choppy, avoid signal for me. All right, here's BTC. Here's the BTC pitchfork. You can see relative to ETH, still plenty of upside. We're talking 65. R3 is at 65. The upside of the pitchfork is at 65. But I'll definitely be a buyer down here at whatever this is, 25 now, as far as the median line of the pitchfork. And the 200 is all the way down at 16. And the yearly pivot's somewhere around 21.20. So tons of targets for downside should this just go to zero from here, right? But somewhat unlikely. More likely than not is we chop around in this zone and make a decision on the pitchfork. But I think there's going to be plenty of buyers sub 25 should we go there. But the expectation is once we're in the upside of the pitchfork, just like we were here, we're going to chop around on the upside before we break cleanly down. At least that's my expectation anyway. Daily cloud for BTC. Again, we haven't hit the Kijun yet, ever, since this daily Kumo breakout. So we will hit this eventually. We always do, always have, always will. That's at 25 right now. A little bit of confluence there with other support targets. We have hit the Kijun, which on the 12-hour looks like we've hit, we have hit the Tenkin several times, which on the 12-hour looks like we hit the Kijun several times. And again, that's at 26. So I like 25. I like 26. I like lower from here, basically. I do not like higher highs here based on what's happened over the past couple days. It's better if we just chill, right? It's better if we just chill. We had this rising wedge and we blow it off. Shorts got called and longs got called. Now margins resetting, funding's resetting. People are making sure they're still alive, surviving whatever their margin positions might have been. And here's the hourly for BTC. Again, this is the exact signal you want to look for here for BTC. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. Those are the three variations. Bullish Kumo breakout with bullish TK cross with bullish cloud. Bullish TK recross above the cloud. Now these are essentially the same. But now what you're looking for here is an obvious TK recross above the cloud. So currently we're in the cloud. Neutral trading zone. No trade zone. Entry is going to be super obvious. Regardless of what the price may be. I want 25 or lower, but I don't know if I'll get it. But if we get a bullish TK recross above the cloud or bullish TK cross with bullish Kumo breakout, that's a long signal all day. All day, every day, baby. All right, let's talk about some alt stuff. ETH BTC, I mean, it just got shmammered and reversed in an unnatural way. It did have a bullish div. I think I talked about that on the last video, but yeah, this is why, to me, ETH BTC is just untradeable. You think it's bearish, it goes the other way. You think it's bullish, it goes the other way. You think it has more upside, it goes down. I mean, I've never been able to trade this successfully, so I'm not going to start to pretend to now. But quite a bounce it had in the sort of long-term support of 0.25. I like 0.5 eventually. I don't know when. Yeah, I'd just keep watching this. Maybe there's some massive horizontal at like 0.4 that people are watching. Just not for me. Last video I was talking about this rising wedge, bearish divergence on Monero. That's started to break down. Probably get a mean reversion, pivot, volume support test. 100 psychological support test. Maybe it goes that low. Maybe not. Maybe 110. But I'd watch all that as support. Overall, it still looks good. Now this rising wedge acted as I'd expect, where it didn't blow off the top. It actually reversed, ran out of steam. Monero BTC, however, looks like most BTC pairs do, in dire straits, right? Tons of support below 0033, but it's kind of just free diving into the abyss right now. I mean, there's just nothing, it's multi-year lows. There's really nothing that anybody's watching besides anything below 0033. Link, you're starting to get this crazy wick situation. Maybe it's just Binance, but really not enough volume. Again, you're seeing volume-wise, you want just, you want to blow somebody out, essentially. I mean, it's sad but true. You want somebody to just get margin called or lose all their money, whatever. You're going to see that in volume. Haven't really seen that yet for Link BTC. RSI-wise, very clear bullish divergence. Falling prices rising. RSI in multi-year lows for RSI on Link BTC. Far below the 200. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why this needs to mean revert. For technicals, I'd just like volumes to be a little bigger there. Tezos BTC, I mean, again, it's almost comical, right? Like, it's like you're drawing this, you're making this up in your head, and you're like, yeah, this is probably just going to go to zero after it hits its all-time high, right? That's basically what it did. RSI just cruising below 30, not really something you see for most alts or anything in crypto. Typically, it doesn't last very long, but this has really lasted quite some time. And you're getting a series of lower lows on RSI here, so there's not even a bullish divergence yet on the macro scale. But on the micro scale, you are getting a bullish div here with very clear lower lows in price on higher RSI. So it's trying to do something. The mean reversion target is 11k sats based on volume, based on the 50, and the 200-day moving average in the pivot is all the way at 18k sats. So it is far from home right now, and you see this because BTC mooned and Tezos did nothing. It just was sideways. So quite the story for Tezos. Doge as well, oddly enough, up 150% or so over the past few days. It's still got this mega resistance at 40. So until 40 breaks on a reasonable scale, it's just probably stuck between 0 and 40 sats for the interim. I don't really see massive upside here for Doge unless it breaks above 40, just based on volume resistance. There's going to be tons of people who are trapped at 40 waiting to sell. So that's going to be your mega resistance. And then lastly, even Zeke BTC is starting to show signs of bearish momentum waning. You're seeing this parabolic downside for one. You're not seeing a bullish div again on the macro scale, but on the micro scale, you're getting a dragonfly doji. Maybe that's enough. Volume here I don't think was very big either. I didn't put it on the chart, but the next thing I'd be watching for is any sort of bullish divergence. I mean, this RSI almost hit zero, basically. It was at 16, 15, something like that. So I don't like Zeke as a project. I never have, never will, but technically this should look like it's starting to bounce. What are you watching this week? Anything I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Happy trading.